All right, I like the way the sun was showing. But so we got another letter, at the video where I'm gonna label tablet 1, there was a letter from the archaeologist who translated the tablets from Babylon, the clay tablets, and he's writing a letter after the last video was tablet 5. There's another letter from Professor Franklin Caldwell. This is a different person. Oh no, this is the same person. They write who wrote it at the end. You know what I'm saying? All of a sudden, there's a ghetto bird. I'm right here reading this powerful thing right here. It's a beautiful book, man. St. Swithin's College, Nottingham University, Newark-on-Trent, Nottingham. November 7th, 1936. Professor Franklin Caldwell, care of British Scientific Expedition, Hilla, Mesopotamia. My dear professor, if, in your further digging into those ruins of Babylon, you encounter the ghost of a former resident, an old camel trader named Debasir, do me a favor. Tell him that his scribbling upon those clay tablets so long ago has earned for him the lifelong gratitude of a couple of college folks back here in England. You will possibly remember my writing a year ago that Mrs. Shrewsbury and myself intended to try his plan for getting out of debt and at the same time having gold to jingle. He may have guessed, even though we try to keep it from our friends, our desperate straits. We were frightfully humiliated for years by a lot of old debts and worried sick for fear of some of the tradespeople might start a scandal that will force me out of the college. We paid and paid every shilling we could squeeze out of the income, but it was hardly enough to hold things even. Besides, we were forced to do all our buying where we could get further credit regardless of higher costs. We were forced to do all our buying where we could get further. That's good knowledge. You have to just buy stuff with what you got. You can't do credit. It developed into one of those vicious circles that grow worse instead of better. Our struggles were getting hopeless. We could not move to less costly rooms because we owed the landlord. There did not appear to be anything we could do to improve our situation. Then here comes your acquaintance, the old camel trader from Babylon, with a plan to do just what we wished to accomplish. He jolly well stirred us up to follow his system. We made a list of all our debts, and I took it around and showed it to everyone we owed. I explained how it was simply impossible for me to pay them the way things were going along. They could readily see this themselves from the figures, and I explained that the only way I saw to pay in full was to set aside 20% of my income each month to be divided pro rata, which would pay them in full in a little over 2 years. That in the meantime, we would go on a cash basis and give them the further benefit of our cash purchases. They were really quite decent. Our green grocer, a wise old chap, put it in a way that helped to bring around the rest. If you pay for all you buy, and then pay some on what you owe, that is better than you have done, for ye ain't paid down the account none in 3 years. Finally, I secured all their names to an agreement binding them not to molest us as long as the 20% of income was paid regularly. Then we began scheming on how to live upon 70%. We were determined to keep that extra 10% to jingle. The thought of silver and possibly gold was most alluring. It was like having an adventure to make the change. We enjoyed figuring this way and that, to live comfortably upon that remaining 70%. We started with rent and managed to secure a fair reduction. Next, we put our favorite brands of tea and such under suspicion, and were agreeably surprised how often we could purchase superior qualities at less cost. It is too long a story for a letter, but anyhow, it did not prove difficult. We managed, and right cheerfully at that. What a relief it proved to have our affairs in such a shape we were no longer persecuted by past due accounts. I must not neglect, however, to tell you about that extra 10% we were supposed to jingle. Well, we did jingle it for some time. Now, don't laugh too soon, you see. That is the sporty part. It is the real fun to start accumulating money that you do not want to spend. There's more pleasure in running up such a surplus that there could be in spending it. There was more pleasure in running up such a surplus than there could be in spending it. After we had jingled to our heart's content, we found a more profitable use for it. We took up an investment upon which we could pay that 10% each month. This is proving to be the most satisfying part of our regeneration. It is the first thing we pay out of my check. There is a most gratifying sense of security to know our investment is growing steadily. By the time my teaching days are over, it should be a snug sum, large enough so the income will take care of us from then on. All this out of my same old check. Difficult to believe, absolutely true. All our debts being gradually paid, and at the same time, our investment increasing. Besides, we get along financially even better than before. Who would believe there could be such a difference in results between following a financial plan and just drifting along? At the end of the next year, when all our old bills have been paid, we'll have more to pay upon our investment besides some extra for travel. We're determined never again to permit our living expenses to exceed 70% of our income. I can understand why we would like to extend our personal thanks to that old chap whose plan saved us from our hell on earth. He knew he had been through it all. He wanted others to benefit from his own bitter experiences. That is why he spent tedious hours carving his message upon the clay. He had a real message for fellow sufferers, a message so important that after 5,000 years it had risen out of the ruins of Babylon, just as true, just as vital as the day it was buried. Yours sincerely, Alfred, Shrewsbury, Department of Archaeology. That was the end of the clay tablets from Babylon. The letter from Alfred H. Shrewsbury, Department of Archaeology.